What's up, you guys? Welcome to the TechCity Podcast. BellaRose Okojie-Duruji here. It is so good to be back on the TechCity Podcast. Thank you so much for watching our previous episodes, for subscribing all the time, and leaving comments as well. Today's episode of the podcast is one that you should sit back for, as in sit down, relax, and just, have a great time while you listen, because it is a topic and a subject that has become mainstream. And while sometimes people act like they understand everything there is to know about this topic, there's always a new angle to it almost every time. It is cryptocurrency. Yes, that very one. Many people thought it would come and it will go, but it definitely hasn't gone. In fact, if anything, it has become mainstream. And so we've gone from learning about Bitcoin to other kinds of coins in the cryptocurrency, chain. And now we're hearing stablecoins. It's like, listen, just hold up, let's take a break. Can we get this thing just broken down to us in bite-sized pieces so we understand everything there is to cryptocurrency? Joining me to have that conversation today with regards to what the heck stable coins are about and everything else that you need to know is no other person but the director of Binance East Africa and West Africa. That's right. We had to go to the upper echelon to make sure that we get someone who knows exactly what this whole thing is about to give us some education. And so you see why I said you need to sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Please make welcome to the TechCity Podcast, Nadeem Anjarwalla, Head and Director of Binance East Africa and West Africa, to the TechCity Podcast. Welcome, Nadeem.
Thanks so much. And thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here with you this afternoon.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a tech enthusiast and disruptor. My background, I began my career as a corporate commercial lawyer and realized I much prefer being at the intersection between where innovation, disruption, and technology lies. And so the opportunity to join Binance almost a year ago really seized me. So here I am.
That's incredible. From corporate law to Binance. I mean, walk us through your career trajectory. How did this happen?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I'm very passionate about seeing how things can be disrupted, and where innovation comes in to rebuild, more existing infrastructures. And so this is where my journey's taken me through a number of different roles, and most recently, and very excited to be here at Binance.
So, I mean, I would expect that someone like you would be interested in stuff like cryptocurrency, perhaps beyond, just loving to be at that intersection and loving innovation and all of that. You probably are personally interested in stuff like Bitcoins. So, I mean, joining Binance, was that as a result of your personal interest, or was it just a career move?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been sort of following the crypto space from pretty much at its early stages, and have been involved in some respect, following, but also interacting with a lot of friends in the community have been too. And so it is both a personal interest, but also something that I was very keen to understand more of and learn and grow within the space. And I think a big believer in what blockchain can unlock, but also the importance and value propositions of crypto.
So am I allowed to ask how much Bitcoin you have? Is that public information?
I wish I could answer that, but we'll have to grab a coffee one of these days.
Right. So from your experience as someone who personally uses Bitcoins and who is involved in trading cryptocurrency, and if you could just perhaps educate someone who is a bit reluctant to go about putting their monies in Bitcoin, what would you say are the risks of investing in cryptocurrency, and what are the benefits?
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll take a step back and really talk through some of the value propositions that I see cryptocurrency has within sort of the context of our continent, West Africa, Nigeria, more specifically as well. I'll start by as a store of value, right? So when we talk about cryptocurrency, we don't refer to just one coin. There are actually, in my opinion, three distinctions. You have stable coins, which are typically backed by a fiat currency. So USDT, for example, is a stable US dollar backed coin. You have asset backed coins, which tend to be backed by an asset, for example, gold, for instance. And then you have algorithmic coins, and those tend to be what we refer to more commonly as crypto, and Bitcoin being one of them, where demand and supply is sort of achieved largely through algorithmic demand and supply mechanisms, and the price correlates on that. And so as we talk about the use cases, the first use case is as a store of value. So we've been seeing throughout the continent, if I look at like what the Naira has done over the last year, I'm sure you could tell me what the official versus unofficial rate, what the devaluation has been, and that has a specific impact on us as individuals, as we're looking to live in a more globalized world. And so what crypto offers is an easy store of value. There are no barriers to entry like buying land. It's highly liquid, and it offers global market access, right? So you say, okay, hey, I'm done with putting my Naira under my mattress. I want to be able to like store it in USDT on my Binance account. Boom, it's a touch of a button. So that's the first use case. The second use case is for a lot of the population, like access to financial products doesn't exist. So how do you go and say, I have here X amount of Naira. I want to earn, 5% per year on it, or 7% per year, or 12%, whatever the case may be. And that hasn't really been accessible to a lot of the population. And what Binance does through a lot of some of the products that it offers, including Earn, in some of the staking products, etc., is it allows for passive income on your store of value, right? So it offers a means of financial services to some extent that doesn't ordinarily exist, not at least at the level of accessibility in the market. And then the third is like, here you are saying, I want to send, or I want to send some money to my cousin in London, or my grandmother in sort of, in a different state. And, how do you do that with ease? And through some of the products we're building, Binance Pay included, we offer like a P2P remittance, ease of remittances to different Binance accounts. And what we're also building is now being able to pay for regular goods and services through your crypto. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I would say: a store of value, a means of earning, and then also a general remittance, but also retail play.
So do you mean that regardless of what devaluation does to other currencies, it doesn't affect stable coins if you invest in stable coins?
So what stablecoins allow you is the ability to buy into cryptocurrencies that are backed or stable coins that are backed by another currency. So today you want to go to your bank and say, hey, I want to buy you can buy that within the stablecoin environment that's a euro backed coin or a US dollar backed coin. So it still has the volatility of the currency that you intend to buy off, but it hedges you from what your current option may be. And in a lot of our situations, we are only have access to the currency in the country in which we are at.
So this sounds like the closest thing to, it sounds like what people expect Bitcoin to be, right? Where it's like, okay, I can use my Naira, I can invest my Naira in Bitcoin, and nothing is going to get affected. But then we see that across board, a number of governments are actually restricting cryptocurrency use and trading, in fact, in their parts of the world. So is stable coins, I guess, an easier way for governments to embrace digital currency?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we try and understand why governments or particularly central banks, and I think Central Bank of Nigeria is one of them, where they have a particular approach to handling crypto, is that it's very much at this point in time not very well understood. And so one of the things that we at Binance are trying to do is really drive education and awareness, right? So what happens? What is this? What is this coin that's hovering in the blockchain space, and how do we think about what potential impacts it can have? Now, absolutely. So, like I said, Bitcoin tends to be algorithmic, where the demand and supply is controlled by certain variables outside of individual or financial institutions' control. Stable coins, fiat backed, especially or currency backed, tend to have a lot more control over. And I think there's a particular report that came out that said 84% of central banks are now exploring or investigating, as high as 18% are actually piloting projects. I think the Central Bank of Nigeria also, there was a digital coin that was yeah, which was produced, and then I think that had its own effect, and I think their own understanding, and so there's still some piloting and pivoting process.
So do you think that, I mean, again, looking at how central banks in other countries, you've made an example of the Central Bank of Nigeria coming up with their own digital currencies and whatnot. I sometimes feel like there's just a lot happening in the financial technology sector. And then you're also now bringing into perspective the entire digital currency space as well. I sometimes feel like there is so much happening. There is so much that maybe Africans are wanting to catch up with the Western world with. And it's like, it can get a bit overwhelming. Do you think that maybe Africans, right? I mean, within the context of our conversation, do you think that we have gotten a full grasp of stuff like Bitcoin, for instance, or the other ones that are a bit commonplace? Do you think we have gotten a full grasp of all of that? And of course, the ones that our central banks are introducing, enough to now embrace stable coins, and I guess the many more that are going to be introduced at some point?
Sure. I think, I won't generalize it for the entire continent and Africans in the purpose of this conversation. But what I will say is that there are definitely a cohort of us on the continent that have really taken to and understand the blockchain space and what cryptocurrencies can afford. I think there's a big gap in terms of real understanding of it across. And I think one of the things Binance wants to do is drive that education and awareness piece. But I think it has the most amount of impact for us on our day-to-day lives, considering how across the continent, how much trade there is, how, we are exposed to a globalized market, if you look at the youth population or proportion of youth across the continent, we're all innovators, and want to be able to maximize value, growth, earning potential, and so I think there's huge levels of adoption that can be expected across.
So let's talk about regulation, because I believe that this is one thing that platforms like yours often face, and that sort of course affects the acceptance of some of these coins within the blockchain. How do regulations impact the development and adoption of cryptocurrency in general, but I guess stable coins specifically?
Sure. So I think regulation's key, right? We're big proponents of regulation for a number of reasons. One, it protects users. Number two, which is extremely important for within the ecosystem. Two, it provides security and stability. And three, builds trust, right? And so the more that there is regulation within the space, the better it is for the entire ecosystem. So we're working closely with governments across the board to try and see how do we address everyone's concerns and develop and build regulation in order to support it. What we're very proud of at Binance is we go above and beyond, and without even regulation in place, we believe we build out for our user is king for us, and we make sure that, or queen, however you want to look at it, but we build out our security protocols. Our tech stack is driven largely around user protection, and that's where we take paramount. Now, as we look to what the regulatory landscape is, I think there's a lot of concern around the impact of within money markets. I'll draw the analogy to trade, right? Prior to the evolution of like the human species, we lived very much as on a subsistence basis, where we would control what we could within our own environment and geography. And with globalization now, we're getting products from all corners of the world. But the financial markets and systems, currencies especially, hasn't really had that level of interaction or level of development, largely by virtue of its control. So I think with blockchain and crypto, we're seeing a really exciting era unfold.
So what would you say are the, biggest challenges that are facing the crypto industry today? You've talked about the things that are important between the user and the provider, but then what challenges are you facing from where you stand?
Sure. So I would say, building out education and awareness. I think there's a complexity within the environment and the ecosystem that doesn't make it particularly easy to understand, right? And so, when you have this lack of knowledge, it's where you can be exploited, scammed even, right? And so building out this education and awareness piece is key for us. The second pillar is around regulation, is understanding how can we build a more robust ecosystem for ourselves as players, for users to be protected, and have some kind of innovation, or expect innovation to really prosper, because at the same time, you don't want to be killing out an industry in its infancy. And then the third is, more mainstream adoption. So how can you go in and order your taxi and pay for it with or go to the supermarket and pay with a different currency? And so I think there are steps that we're still a while away from full mainstream adoption, but these are some of the more operational challenges that we come across.
So I think that one of the challenges that I would expect that you may be facing would be expectation, right? From, expectation versus reality. Some people expect that if I invest in Bitcoin or stablecoins today, I should be able to make a lot of returns by weekend or by next week. And for some people, when that doesn't happen, it takes away from, the experience that platforms like yours are trying to give people. So address that, where people sometimes expect that investing in cryptocurrency is a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of narrative, particularly given that we've come from a bull market, where a lot of people have seen high levels of wealth created in short periods of time using the ecosystem, or the crypto and blockchain ecosystem. That there's been a influx of sentiment around that. So not uncommon to hear how a grandmother from rural parts of the country is like, here's some cash that I have. I want you to double it, tomorrow. Here you go. Don't tell me what you're doing. I hear crypto. Get me the return. And so I think we need to change that narrative. One of the things that, as I mentioned, one of the things that we offer, or cryptocurrency offers, is a store of value. It also offers a means of earning, but your get rich quick campaigns are very much based on leveraging and trading values that can happen, but require a huge amount of information, and there's a huge amount of risk associated with it, right? And so we're looking largely to build out the infrastructure and how this adoption is going to happen, looking like 5, 10, 25 years from now, more than just what will this look like, or what will my bank account, what will my wallet's balance look like, within 24 minutes.
So walk me through what it's like to invest in stablecoins for anyone who's curious right now, since we're talking about information and getting that out there. Sure. Perfect example, I have $500,000 and I want to invest in stablecoins.
Sure. So we don't give financial advice. We're merely a platform. But what I will tell you, what does it look like and how easy is it to do? It's really simple. It's go onto your Binance, go download the Binance app, or log in online, complete your KYC process, and boom, there are multiple methodologies that we have depending on the country that you're in. In Nigeria, for example, you can deposit through P2P. Simply find someone who's selling the currency in which or a coin in which you want to invest in, and then get onto the Binance app and buy, trade, earn. Extremely straightforward. Click of a button, and you're already in. And my recommendation, and like what I will say, is that it doesn't take much, right? You say you have 500,000 naira, you can do it with 500 naira, and you can start it off. So it's not something that's limited to people who have a lot of money. There's no minimum amount that you can transact on the platform. Trial it out, get familiar with it, learn. We only grow when we learn, and see what you can do.
All right. Now, I wanted to address this because I'm sure people are going to want to know. Over the past year, there have been a number of crypto trading platforms that have shut down, and that is always a thing for people. Whenever any crypto platform shuts down, everyone who's got some investment in any platform as well starts getting a bit, apprehensive. Walk me through the security and the stability of Binance, as of course, I think arguably the biggest crypto trading platform in the world.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for bringing this up. Look, I think I'll speak more about ourselves as a centralized exchange, and our CEO, CZ, has, the messaging comes from top down, but our primary commitment is to protect users. And we launched, 6 pillars, 6 commitments that we take to make sure our user funds are kept safe at all times and not mismanaged, right? And what we also like to add is that exchange operations should really be transparent. So as I speak to these 6 commitments, it's always be risk averse with user funds, right? Secondly is never use any native tokens as collateral, which we're very proud of. And then what we try and do is also share live proof of assets. The fourth is keep strong reserves, avoid excessive leverage, and then strengthen and enforce security protocols is like the 6. So these are our 6 commitments that we continue to do, and we believe that in doing so, we're prioritizing, continually bolstering our commitment to protecting users and ensuring that user funds are protected.
So, what are the potential implications? I'm not trying to be pessimistic or anything, but in the event that there is a government crackdown, for instance, on crypto exchange, we've seen this happen in Nigeria. What are the implications of such crackdowns on crypto exchanges and transactions in future?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost is like we're seeing greater adoption and appetite from the governments in order for crypto to be becoming more mainstream. So, for example, the SEC already has a framework in which to build, or a licensing framework that's been in place or is in place. Secondly, is we've seen recently that the Nigeria government formally approves the use of blockchain in Nigeria. And so we're seeing a lot of moves in place. In Kenya, for example, the Capital Markets Authority has the Kenya Revenue Authority is already wanting to tax like the crypto space. And so we're seeing a lot more government stakeholders start believing in the mainstream application of blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I think that firstly, calms your concerns. The second part of it is that we've built out our technology, our security protocols as well that ensure that customer funds are safe, irrespective. So wherever there may be, currently we're aware of the restrictions that the Central Bank of Nigeria has on trading on crypto. Yet we have built an infrastructure in which, through P2P merchants, you can access like your cryptocurrency or wallets through Binance. And so our commitment is always to our users first and protecting their funds. And I think Binance is built on that and will continue to do so.
Now, how do you see the future of cryptocurrency or maybe even stable coins evolving over, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
Sure. I think there's, again, through to looking back at what the value proposition the ecosystem provides, in addition to being extremely easy to transact, click of a button, instant and very low cost. I think it's only going to grow. In addition to that, I think we as a population here on the continent tend to be extremely innovative. And I think there are some really exciting use cases, that are spanning both from the blockchain, but also from cryptocurrency as well. And so I believe that this is very much at an infancy, and it's largely here to stay.
Now, recently I heard a news report about a member of staff of one of the big tech companies in the world resigning and he was one of the early adopters of artificial intelligence. And, he's come back to say, well, I'm leaving the company because I'm afraid of the future of AI. In your opinion, and as someone who is, of course, very invested in cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology, are there any downsides to this, or are they just all positives, and is it just all El Dorado? Are there any downsides to this? Do you have any concerns, perhaps, about democratizing currency as we see blockchain technology and cryptocurrency wanting to do?
Yeah, I think, look, I'm a realist. I think that there's always two sides of an argument. I'm very much focused on being innovative, moving forward. How can we benefit from some of the benefits that are unlocked through an infrastructure that that blockchain and crypto offers? Are there downsides? Sure. I wouldn't be surprised that you'd find a bunch of people who could, including at a central bank, who could tell you like 20, 25 different things that are the downsides. But I think in every situation, you have to assess risk, you understand what the benefits are, and then you move forward, right? I recall being a young boy when M-Pesa was launched in Kenya, for example, right? And my parents swore that they would never put money on a wallet, on a phone, right? Because what happens if the phone was stolen, or what happens if it disappeared?
How's that going now?
And look at where we are. Fast forward 15, 20 years. So,
right.
So yeah, I mean, I think with innovation, there are lessons that we learn, but we take them, we build, and we move forward.
All right. I mean, it's not your job to tell us what the disadvantages are anyway, so I guess that's fine. But on a final note, what would you say are some of the new things we need to know about what's happening at Binance, particularly for your East and West African community? Yeah,
absolutely. So 3 things I would say. One is make sure that everyone downloads the app, gets involved, starts testing out our product. The second is join our communities. Our communities are a fantastic way in which to interact with the ecosystem, also learn and understand, drive more awareness, and the best way to do so is from our peers. So we have communities across most social media channels: Telegram, Instagram. We have online meetups, and then finally is continue to support us and try out our products. We have Binance Pay, that's very exciting. Our earned products well used, and so yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Nadeem. We're done with this, but do you have any shout outs to give, maybe?
Thanks.
Anyone you want to say a very high shout out?
Thank you. I think 3 shout outs. 1 to all our users and our users who are yet to be. 2 is for the team. We have a fantastic team behind us in West Africa and across the continent, who soldier on daily to make sure that things run as smoothly as they do. And then secondly, thank you to you. Thirdly, thank you to you. I really appreciate you the time to being here. So
thank you
very much.
Thank you so much, Nadeem, and wish you all the very best as you lead the team in East and West Africa, of course, of Binance. Have a fantastic time, and we'll keep in touch.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nadeem. Bye.